You're listening to Hysteria, the podcast that is kind of like the friend who will drive you to the airport or the abortion clinic. No questions asked.
100% correct.
100% correct. I will not drive you to a crisis pregnancy center because they are fake. Fake wealth transfers from the taxpayer to religious zealots. But I will drive you to the abortion clinic.
Yes, or the airport.
Or the airport. If you are my friend, I will do it. Okay, speaking of abortion, God, every fucking week.
Every week.
But Republicans cannot stop palming the hot stove that is abortion. Abortion is about to be almost totally illegal in Arizona. It's on a practical level, it will be illegal in Arizona. After the state Supreme Court upheld a 160-year-old abortion ban on Tuesday. The decision was 4-2. One of the justices recused themselves. Every single one of the justices on the Arizona Supreme Court was appointed by a Republican governor.
Mm-hmm.
The law that's being upheld is an 1864 law that makes abortion at any point after the moment of conception a felony, punishable by 2 to 3 years in prison for doctors who perform the abortion and regular people who help a woman get one. So there is an exception to save the life of a pregnant person. We know from experience that
bullshit.
It's not a thing. There aren't exceptions for rape and incest, which, dark joke incoming.
Is at least honest.
Yeah. Well, but I guess it also makes sense for a law written in 1864 when much of America's westward expansion was fueled by rape and incest.
Also true.
Also true. I was thinking about the year 1864, and I've heard a lot of the discourse around this law. People are like, it's before Arizona was a state. True, Arizona didn't become a state till 1912. Arizona is kind of a shiny new state. And they also, oh, yes, it was before women had the right to vote. It was, Civil War era, very old. But
slavery still existed.
Slavery still existed. I haven't really seen very much perspective in terms of where science was at this time, because these are men who lived during a time that was pre-vaccines of any kind. Vaccines didn't exist until 1879,
right.
Alyssa. Louis Pasteur would not come up with the germ theory until 1861. So it had been only 3 years prior that we knew that germs were a thing. And we're letting these people dictate medical policy now. The periodic table didn't exist in 1864. That wasn't invented until 1869, Alyssa. The Johns Hopkins School of Medicine's Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology didn't exist until 1889.
Erin, it feels like science has come a long way since this stupid law was written.
I feel like 1864 was a time where if a woman was depressed, they would throw her in an insane asylum. This was a time when...
Little bloodletting.
Yeah. Leeches. Leeches, man. This maternal mortality was so high during this time. I mean, we don't have great stats, but now we count maternal mortality in terms of how many women per 100,000. Back then, it was like 25 per 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And probably on the higher end of that in Arizona, where it was not even a state. It was not a place where that had any sort of infrastructure, medical infrastructure that supported low maternal mortality rates.
Are these the good old days that Republicans keep talking about?
Make America great again?
Again?
What?
Okay.
Yeah. So just additional perspective. 1864, not a ton of stuff science-wise. This was pre-Pierre and Marie Curie. There's so many things that we didn't know, and we're letting these people dictate health policy in 2024.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
that's where they're at.
Yeah, but Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays. Let's talk about her, Alyssa.
She's killing it.
Okay, so she's a Democrat who won her election by, and Alyssa, you had to text to make sure this was true.
I had to text because I thought I was not doing my math correctly. Erin, she won her election by 280 votes in 2022. 280 votes.
Oh my God.
And so it's you should go ahead and read what she had to say.
Yeah, I'm just going to summarize her statement after the ruling came down, which I'm going to summarize, this ruling sucks and I'm not enforcing shit, which is basically what she said. But the statement that she released and delivered was, quote, "The decision made by the Arizona Supreme Court today is unconscionable and an affront to freedom. Make no mistake, by effectively striking down a law passed this century and replacing it with one from 160 years ago, the court has risked the health and lives of Arizonans. The Arizona Court of Appeals decision, which the Supreme Court has struck down today, was well-reasoned and aligned with how the courts harmonize different legislation. Today's decision to reimpose a law from a time when Arizona wasn't a state, the Civil War was raging, and women couldn't even vote, will go down in history as a stain on our state. This is far from the end of the debate on reproductive freedom, and I look forward to people of Arizona having their say in the matter. And let me be completely clear, as long as I'm Attorney General, no woman or doctor will be prosecuted under this draconian law in the state. Again, this ruling sucks, and I'm not enforcing shit."
Yep. And it is, to the point that you actually made when we were texting, is brass balls on this woman. Because
absolutely
280 votes is that's nothing. You know what I mean? Like, this is, most politicians run in fear and govern in fear of not being reelected. And she's like, I feel like she has won zero fuck status here on Hysteria.
Mm-hmm. Last week, we interviewed Barbara Lee, and Barbara Lee is somebody who has always had a lot of courage in her convictions and been willing to put herself out there and be the only person when she knew that she was the only person standing up for something when she knew that she was right. I feel like this is a Barbara Lee stand.
Yeah.
Democratic Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs also didn't mince words. She called Tuesday a dark day for Arizona and called the ban unacceptable. So this is the worst one, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is really, really bad. So this can, if the Arizona legislature doesn't do anything to make a new law, this threatens Arizonans' access to IVF, IUDs, Plan B, and, we have the AG saying that they're not going to enforce this law, but I think that if you are the general counsel of a hospital,
still has a chilling effect.
Exactly. You're not going to say, doctors, the AG says they're not going to they're not going to enforce it. That's good. Fine. That's fine for me. I mean, this is still going to effectively ban abortion in Arizona. Mm-hmm. Now, if people were to go around the law, and that would probably have to be outside of the hospital system, I think that you do not run a risk of being prosecuted because of what the AG said. Mm-hmm. But I'm not advising that. And I don't think any lawyer worth their salt would advise that.
No.
But so IVF, IUDs, and Plan B, which there isn't a ton of research on IUDs and Plan B, but there is some theorizing that they could interfere with the implantation of a fertilized embryo into the uterus. And so that would technically violate this 1864 law, which is not good. And then also, I think a lot of people who have never been pregnant, never dealt with miscarriage, are learning a lot about healthcare during pregnancy since Dobbs, because we're seeing all of the ways that abortion is healthcare, and how there are so many cases where even if you feel morally weird about elective abortion, making it illegal blocks paths toward healthcare that people who would never choose to have an abortion need. There is no way to legislate against elective abortions, really, that protects women. And so it makes no sense to do it. Also, it's creepy for the government to be involved in this in the first place. But, a lot of times abortion is miscarriage care. There was, if somebody is pregnant and is clear that the pregnancy is not going to continue to develop, but it hasn't, the heartbeat hasn't stopped yet, abortion allows you to end the pregnancy that is going to end anyway.
Right.
And move on with your life and preserve your fertility and make the medical procedure less complicated and less traumatic. And also, it's another thing I was thinking about, Alyssa. This is going to be really bad for all gynecological care in the state of Arizona.
Totally. I mean, even, what it made me think of, Erin? It's if the Supreme Court, if the government, if whoever any of these fuckers are, feel so emboldened to get involved in our bodies, who's to say that if a woman was diagnosed with cancer, they'd say, you know what, you really shouldn't be allowed to get your chemo because it might kill all the eggs. And that's really what you're here for. Mm-hmm. So like I mean, that's a little ludicrous, but it's not that ludicrous.
It's not because there are already doctors that are really hesitant to sterilize women who want to be sterilized.
Yep.
And if the process of getting treated for cancer without preserving your eggs is effectively a form of sterilization, I could see that being something people went after. It's really messed up. I also was thinking, like, it recently was Match Day. So if you work in the medical field or you know someone who works in the medical field, you know Match Day is this very weird ceremony week where everyone finds out who's a medical student. They find out where their residency is going to be, whether they matched with a program. You choose a bunch of places you might want to go, you interview, and then they pick you or they don't. And I'm just imagining, you know, being an OBGYN in Arizona is probably just fucking insane right now.
And I can't imagine.
Imagine if you were a medical resident who just matched with a program in Arizona and you're going to be an OBGYN and all of a sudden, you know, like you're going to a state where you can't learn half the things that you are supposed to learn. Like,
or like can't observe. I mean, like so much of it's so, again, just creating gynecological deserts.
Mm-hmm.
Across the state, across
in
the coast.
Desert.
in the desert.
And it's also going to impact the healthcare access of women in adjoining states that have more permissive laws. Like Colorado is going to see an influx of patients from Arizona.
Yeah.
New Mexico already way overburdened because of Texas. Mm-hmm. California. It is just like it's going to impact everybody in the states that touch Arizona or that are close to Arizona. Because the thing is, when it comes to abortion bans, I'm just going to say, if you've ever been pregnant and you don't want to be pregnant, you're not going to be stopped by state law. Like, you're not going to be like, oh, nuts.
Well, shit.
Guess
you're going to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. You will go to really extreme lengths to end a pregnancy.
You will spend much more money than you had to. You will face hurdles like getting time off of work, potentially having to find childcare, paying for travel. It is so outrageous, but you will do it because it's your life and you have to.
Mm-hmm. And it's really the upside of this. So like no downplaying the fact that this could go into effect in a couple weeks. It's not currently in effect. If you're in Arizona and you need an abortion, you can still get one up until 15 weeks. But in a couple weeks, this ban is probably going to be in effect. Meanwhile, reproductive freedom advocates in Arizona have been gathering signatures for a ballot initiative that would add a state constitutional amendment guaranteeing abortion access for Arizonans up till fetal viability, which was what Roe guaranteed.
And Erin, they already have all the signatures they need, don't they?
Yes, they announced last week that they have blown past the number of signatures that they need to get on the ballot. The deadline is not until July, and they are still out there collecting signatures. I think they have 500,000.
Seems people feel pretty passionately.
People do feel pretty passionately, and there are there's a lot of talk now in political circles about how this is going to impact 2024, rightfully so. We've got Kari Lake, who is
one
insane.
of the worst.
Who is insane. Kari Lake is the GOP nominee for an up-for-grabs Senate seat that is being vacated by circa 1999 Gadzooks Senator Kirsten Sinema. And Kari Lake is running for that Senate seat and as a Republican and is claiming that she is against the ban.
Allegedly.
She's lying.
Of course she's lying.
She was for the ban when she was running for governor in 2022, when she lost to Katie Hobbs.
For it before she was against it. Classic move.
Yeah, and I think that she has smartly recognized that this is not a winning issue. I think polling has shown only 6% of Arizonans say that abortion should be illegal in all cases, except to save the life of the mother. So only 6% are aligned with this ban. So Kari Lake is trying to pretend that she is not one of that 6%, but I've just got to say, Kari, there's so much footage of you saying that you were in favor of it from back in 2022. It doesn't really matter what you say now because
you said it.
Because you said it. And it was It was in 2022, and unless you release like a long video explaining your reasoning for changing your mind,
the evolution of your thought process.
But even then, I'm sorry, like Oppo researchers don't really need to do very much digging to find this, and this is going to be what's played in ads. Is you in a gubernatorial debate in 2022 talking about how you believe life begins at conception and that abortion should be illegal. You said it.
You said it. And fundamentally, you're untrustworthy. It doesn't matter what you say at this point because you've changed your mind too many times.
And speaking of untrustworthy, I think it's very interesting that this Arizona ruling happened the day after Donald Trump tried to announce his grand plan for how he is going to make abortion policy that appeases everybody. Alyssa, take it away.
Erin, Donald Trump's been telling America for ages. He's like, listen, I'm going to thread this needle. I'm going to thread it beautifully. We're going to have the best abortion policy. Naysayers said that wasn't possible because one side wants women to have the right to make their own healthcare decisions, and the other side doesn't care if women die. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Much like other Trumpian promises, like a replacement for Obamacare, Infrastructure Week, and the release of his tax returns as soon as they were no longer under audit, which will be never, Trump finally announced his plan on abortion on Monday, and there's an update today. His plan, Erin, it's to just allow the current chaos to continue.
Oh,
and yes.
Great plan. Everyone loves it. Good job.
Great job, Trump. Now, the best part was this was in a video statement that he dropped on Monday on Truth Social. Neither one of us would click the link. We're like, nope, not clicking that link. No way.
No.
But it was obviously reported. And so Trump said, quote, "My view is now that we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal standpoint. The states will determine by vote or legislation, or perhaps both. And whatever they decide must be the law of the land. In this case, the law of the state."
Yeah. And then 24 hours later, Arizona drops this. And everyone is like, oh, it's weird. It's still just as weird as it was before to have elected state legislatures being in a position to make medical decisions for people. It's still fucking weird.
It's still fucking weird, but it wasn't even, it was even worse because he thinks that he did something so smart. Like he was looking in the mirror and he's like, you know what? I'm the eldest boy.
I'm the eldest boy!
Like he was like, I fucking sorted this out. But Erin, the thing is like, and when everyone was reporting on this on Monday, they were like, oh, Trump moderates his position. No, he did not. He abso-fucking-lutely did not. Because Erin, it was just last September, just a few months ago, that Trump said of Governor Ron DeSantis signing the 6-week abortion ban in Florida, quote, "I think what he did is a terrible thing and a terrible mistake." Then he got attacked by the Susan B. Anthony Foundation and other anti-choice groups. And so now, here we are. Suddenly, 6-week abortion ban in Florida seems totally fine.
Yeah, because it's up to the states. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's over his skis. He, once again, he's come up with no new ideas. He has fixed nothing. His idea is Dobbs. That's his idea.
Right.
And that idea has existed. It's like you had 2 years to come up with something.
He is, and Erin, again, this goes to the Kari Lake of it all. You know, in 1999, he was very, very pro-choice. Then he starts thinking about wanting to run for president, and he's pro-life, in front of CPAC. And then he becomes, Mr. Like people should face prison if they have an abortion. And now he's like, I don't really know how to straddle this fence. Seems like people in America are kind of like for abortion. And, but my base is going to turn against me if I'm not the most pro-life. So he's like, you know what? I'm just going to let people do what they want to do.
Yeah. And this speaks to the whole, the anti-abortion movement is leaderless and aimless and directionless. And people are pulling in so many different directions that there is no way that a Republican can appease all of them. It reminds me of, it's very Dems in disarray. You know, remember?
I remember Dems in disarray. That was a quaint time.
I know, it's very Dems in disarray, and by that I mean it is an unwinnable issue for Republicans. It is unwinnable because there have been people like Kellyanne Conway who have gone on conservative media and touted the benefits of like, oh, you know what? There should be a 15-week ban, which medical nonsense, first of all, but it polls well, right? And 15-week ban, that's what we should do federally, a 15-week ban, which would erode the rights of women in states like California, New York, Colorado, that have like robust abortion protections, Ohio. And also a 15-week ban would not eliminate 90% of abortions, which occur before 15 weeks. So like it's like a sort of worst of both worlds thing for the pro-life side, because it's like you're only like 90% of abortions take place before 15 weeks. So how many like quote unquote lives are they saving with this?
And Erin, there's a little breaking news. Trump this morning, Wednesday morning, was asked by a reporter in Atlanta, would you sign a national abortion ban if Congress sent it to your desk? No, says Trump, shaking his head. You wouldn't sign it, the reporter asked. No, Trump said again.
Don't fucking believe you for a second. Bullshit. Also, this is as trustworthy as a Supreme Court confirmation hearing, where it's settled law. It's settled law. Oh,
do you know what you don't trust, Erin?
Donald
a man
Trump.
Who's a pathological liar, and also, if elected president and receives this bill on his desk, is not facing re-election again. So, just saying.
Yeah, there is absolutely no repercussions for him lying about this. There's only upside to him lying about this and no downside to him lying about this. The only downside is people from SBA list might get mad and like write him some angry letters or like send out a mean tweet about it.
But then he's just going to call them and be like, wink, wink, nod, nod, you guys, come on. We got to get back in the White House. Then I got your back. Because again, I'm the president who said he'd overturn Roe, and it's overturned. So.
Yeah, and he is proud of the fact that he overturned Roe. That's a thing that people have missed in this whole conversation about him moderating his stance. He overturned Roe, and he's proud of it, and he talks about it all the time.
Yeah.
And overturning Roe is how we got to the chaos we're in right now. It's how we got to millions of Arizona women suddenly facing a ban on abortion written by guys in fucking mutton chop sideburns who probably think the uterus migrates around the body depending on how mad a woman is.
And it's how he's raising millions of dollars to pay his legal fees.
Yeah, that's a horse of a different color. Another thing he said in the video was that Democrats want to have abortion up to the moment of birth and past it. I'm just going to say this.
It's a law, right?
Abortion after the moment of birth. If there is if a child is out of a woman's body and then you kill it, that is called murder, and it's super illegal.
Already on the books.
Can't do that.
That law's already on the books.
Little known under-enforced law against murder. It's like the Comstock Act. We're like, whoa, we're enforcing this now. No doctor in their right mind is going to like, woman skips. I skip into my OBGYN's office 30 weeks pregnant plus, and I'm like,
I've changed my mind.
Get it out of here. First of all,
this isn't working for me anymore.
First of all, it would live if you took it out of me. So I would still be like, oh God, gotta find a fire station to put this thing in. First of all, and no doctor in their right mind would do that.
Ever.
That is
Jesus Christ.
That is a not stable thing for a person to ask for. Like if a person it's like
there'd be a psych hold involved.
Right. It's like it's like we should somebody went into a plastic surgeon and was like, make my boobs the size of the moon. A doctor would be like, I can't, I'm not doing that.
Cantaloupes, maybe. The moon, no.
It doesn't seem like you're in your right mind, right? That would be something where a doctor would be like, yeah, this doesn't seem like you're in a good place. You're not making a good decision. As a medical professional, I'm not going to do this. Medical procedures are kind of two-way streets. And so, yeah, that's not
You don't just get to go in and be like, give it to me.
No, they make you jump through hoops if you want like a brand name inhaler prescription. Like, you think they're just going to be like, okay, willy-nilly. Yeah, that sounds good. This is a thing that happens all the time. We're just going to do this. Absolutely wild. But yeah, I think the important takeaway is that Donald Trump lies about this shit constantly.
And he always will.
And he always will. Nothing he says is trustworthy on it. And he is in over his head. And the more questions that get asked of him, the more he's going to tie himself in knots. And, in the meantime, in between now and election time, this coming fall, there's going to be a lot of people who suffer and fall through the cracks, who have to go through steps that they shouldn't have to go through in order to obtain abortion care. But come fall, I think there's going to be to borrow a phrase from Brett Kavanaugh, they may reap the whirlwind.
Whoa. It's deep.
Yep. Noted feminist scholar Brett Kavanaugh.